I felt that one of the things I could do to be an advocate for the university was to try to convey to people what the university would one day mean to our community.
We spent a lot of time sitting with the leadership of those organizations, trying to understand what made this a good place to locate, and then what can we do to continue that and make it a place that would be attractive for you and for your employees and allow you to be more competitive in the job market. And one of the things that came out loud and clear is that where organizations had been successful in terms of recruiting people and retaining people, it was because there was a university that was important to where they were. And there was a community, a sense of community where after work the employees could do things.
Frank and I moved to Richardson with a job transfer from New York, and found it a very exciting place to be, full of growth and development and lots of opportunities.
Before you came, where were you brought up?
I was brought up, actually born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and my father was transferred to the South and to Mobile, and so that's where it all began.
Well, I was born and raised in Bronxville, New York. It's a suburb of New York City, and spent essentially 22 years there. Went to college in Massachusetts at Amherst, and went in the Marine Corps from there, and then a series of job experiences brought us to Richardson, as Jerry said. But we met when I was in flight training in Pensacola. I met her in Mobile through family connections.
It seems to be the recurring story in Richardson.
Right,
Friends get
exactly.
people involved. So.
And then the Friends of the Library, which was something that Jerry Leftwich asked me to get involved in. I think at the time perhaps she was on the library board, I'm not certain. But the Friends of the Library had been in existence, but really was in name only at that time. And she wanted to have this author series, and we set it up under the Friends, although there actually were no Friends in existence at the time. No organization as such, and later on we did sort of build that up into a separate organization.
When I went to work there at the library, it was the only building there. The rest of it was empty fields, and people would play soccer out there on the fields. They had regular soccer games out there, and we could sit in the staff lounge and watch the soccer games during our lunch hours. One reason that it was the first building in the proposed complex was because the citizens really wanted a library. The city was very much a bedroom community at that time, but it was a bedroom community for the people who worked at TI and some of the other places around there, and so they really wanted to have good schools. They were highly educated, wanted good schools for their kids, and they wanted good library resources. So the library had a 4-story building, basement and 3 stories, while City Hall, Fire Department, Police Department were still crammed into little buildings over at Main and Greenville.
You know, I remember the first Nobel Prize winner you had here. And he and his wife came in, and they had the dinner for them, and his wife and I were sitting together, and she said she just couldn't imagine being here. and you know, here in Texas, who ever heard of anything? What good comes from Texas, kind of thing? And what did they have here? And about the only thing we had in town at that time was the library.
Yeah.
And I said, I tell you what, you've got to see the library. I said, that's our prime and pride right now. That's the best thing we've got. And I know that you'll like the library. About 25 days later or so, I got a check for $250. She liked the library and wanted to make a donation. Sent the check. I might tell you it wasn't made out to me. But the money went to the library, so we made a point.
Yeah.
We didn't have what they had in Boston, but what we had was acceptable.
Was good. And if they wanted what they had in Boston, they should help build it.
That's right. And they did.
Well, Louise Frederick, the director of the library at the time, she had visions of having a noontime brown bag lunch where people would come and listen to authors speak about their current publication. And at the time, we weren't a pedestrian society, and we're not too much of a pedestrian society today. It wasn't like we were downtown Chicago or New York where people, you know, came from offices during lunch. So Frank and I attended a number of lecture series around Dallas, and we would see Richardson people. And once the City Hall was built, where we had a nice facility in which to hold something such, we decided to begin that, and Louise was very happy.
The difference between the Friends of the Library in-person lecture series here and some of the similar kinds of series that we'd attended down in Dallas was a somewhat of a more audience participation experience. And we had gone to a number of these sorts of lecture series at SMU in particular, where arguably the authors were more celebrity than they were author. I don't mean to demean them, but this truly was a stimulating series of lectures, and the authors were very open and interested in talking about their experiences as authors and careers, and I think it just grew on itself and became a pretty darn good ticket. Just editorially, from my perspective, a much too inexpensive ticket. It certainly could have commanded more.
The best ticket in town, and it still is.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the community was like? People tell me that UT Dallas was basically one big cotton field in those days.
Well, Richardson was really a small, separate city. A good bit of empty space between it and the outskirts of Dallas.
So was the TI facility then kind of surrounded by farms?
Oh, yeah.
A standalone island?
Yeah.
One of the first things I remember about Richardson was, of course, it was summer when we moved down here. Elizabeth needed a new pair of sneakers. Well, the only place to buy a pair of sneakers in Richardson was at a Gibson store, which was on Arapahoe Road in Hampshire Lane, or else order them from the Sears catalog, because there was a Sears catalog depot. Otherwise, you went down to North Park to get a pair of sneakers for your child.
Things have changed.
Things have changed. And I can also remember driving to Gibson's and thinking, what on earth did anybody build this 6-lane road for? There was no traffic much on it at that time, but that was just the foresightedness the city's always had.
The economic development plan that developed between the city and the chamber and et cetera was very smart, because it was basically aimed at encouraging high-tech companies to locate here. And the idea is not just to have good jobs, but it's to basically have companies who have equipment that increases the tax base of the city. And that works to everyone's advantage in the area, because it does provide a way for the city to support itself and to have more funds for development, for streets, for infrastructure and so on, considerably higher than if, for instance, the entire community developed as residential. So that plan to encourage high-tech, which, by the way, was incorporated in the zoning, it's very clear in the comprehensive zoning plan that was the intent, that was the direction. It was the combined goal of both the city, the chamber, and anyone who surrounded those organizations.